Urgent broadcast going live in 3. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We have an urgent update. As you guys know, yesterday I told you I would give you the full scoop on what happened last night. As most all of you know, if there's somebody still under a rock right now about what happened yesterday, obviously we will fill you in on the slight details. Most people have been glued to their TV because they know, they've been told for 10 years once something like this happens that this is World War III. Again, and now it is happening right in front of us. Of course, a operation went down where they had, I believe, 9 B-2s that headed towards Iran. Those B-2s took out the nuclear facilities, and these are U.S. B-2s, took out the nuclear facilities in Iran, and it has caused a huge ruckus. We're going to talk about the consequences from this, what other countries are saying, what countries are saying that they might jump in. Some are saying that they might even sell nuclear weapons to Iran to defend themselves. So again, we'll talk about the major U.S. cities on high alert. Now, of course, this is something we said before this was ever a headline. Obviously, when this kind of thing happened, we know from the last 4 years about how many people came into our country and how many of them were said by the Pentagon. It was like something like 1 out of every 100 was supposed to be a sleeper cell, they believed. So again, this is some crazy stuff. So let's go over it now. But first, before we go over all of that, I do want to remind you, make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you haven't already. This is a device that can actually protect you, get you home to your family, or get you out to bug out in the event of any kind of response like a EMP strike. Now, if you're new to our channel, this isn't something we're just bringing up today. This is something we've told people about for 5 or 6 years now, and that is because this will actually save lives in the event of one of the most probable ones, which is an EMP strike against our grid. The grid is the fundamental base of every single thing in our country. If they take out our grid, they don't have to take lives. We'll do that for them. Again, if you want to protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, and pretty much anything else that runs, including, again, your home, your ham radios, whatever it may be, they most likely have a device for, including Starlink now and modems, then go over to marfoogle.com/EMP. It will also protect you against a solar event, a Carrington-level event from the sun. Go to marfoogle.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. It gets you $50 off per device, and it will help our independent small channel. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So this was huge. They sent 9 B-2 bombers, and now they're saying U.S. cities are on high alert. Could have predicted that one. But also, this operation to a lot of people, including the people that were in Missouri, they saw these flying over, and, everybody said, oh, it's probably another drill. What's funny is we've seen these B-2s fly over, and this was drilled during Biden times. We covered it, that people were spotting B-2s above them. Now there's even articles coming out about how this was actually war-gamed and simulated during the JB administration, and now it just happened. When that happened, if you go back to our show, we said they're practicing to take out Iran, and now they've done it. Dex, this is a huge thing because now you've got conferences going down. You've got questions from many countries, talking to Putin directly, translated. They're basically asking, are you going to support Iran? What's going to happen? I mean, this is a huge deal. What did you think when you saw this yesterday?
Well, my first reaction was, why not Diego Garcia? But then the more I thought about it, they actually launched from Missouri with transponders on. At least a couple of them did. I don't know if all of them did, but enough so that people were tracking and saying, oh, look, some B-2s went up, and they headed towards the Pacific. And then they probably landed a couple or had some of them stay in the Pacific to sort of give off the idea that it was just another drill. And maybe at the flip side, if you're Iran, you're watching Diego Garcia because you think that's where they're going to be coming from anyway, because they've been using them. They struck the Houthis from Diego Garcia. And you probably will have boats or other things out there just monitoring and watching to see if they take off, to give some sort of early warning. So that actually gave me the reason why. Well, that probably makes sense why we launched from the U.S., because we could have launched making it look like a typical drill, launched some coverts, a whole bunch of other planes that are going to fuel them along the way, including fighter jets that I think the fighter jets probably joined in, probably from one of the other bases there. I don't know if they took them all the way across the globe.
No, they
I don't
did.
need to.
Well, at
All the
least
way
the
across
refuelers, they refueled 3
the
times.
refuelers, yeah, but the fighter jets that were needed, they would fly in early, looking for anti-aircraft and any radar, but none of that seemed to happen. They didn't have any any problems there. Apparently, they launched a whole bunch of Tomahawks off a submarine right before the strike to take out one of the locations there near the Strait of Hormuz, and then the B-2s went in and took out the 3 facilities with numerous drops. Obviously, with the fighters going in first, just to prepare the airspace if it needed to be.
And when I first heard about it, it was an hour after the announcement. I was actually in the middle of moving things, and it ended up my father-in-law said, "Oh no, yeah, they went to Guam," and I thought my father was misunderstanding. I'm like, "No, they're parked in Diego Garcia," and they said essentially said, "No, they went towards Guam," and it turns out that they did some sort of decoy. You know, what's crazy to me is that they took 9 of these things. I'm guessing that the other countries, they have to think about them tracking these. They probably took the 6 or 7 or 5 or whatever, had them loud and proud going towards Guam, and then they said what 1, 2, or 3 of them basically turned off. Turned their squawking to almost nothing, no communication, and then went all the way. It was 7,600 miles or whatever it was, had to refuel 3 times, left at this time, and got there at 6 p.m., at night, and ended up doing it. I might be off on my times. It might have been 6 in the morning. I forget, but it was at least.
Yeah, they left at midnight here, and it was 18 hours by the time they got there after refueling. It's 18-hour time lapse between then and the actual sounds of the explosion, give or take 20 minutes, and that's the amount of time needed for the full flight with refueling in the air. And yeah, the ones that hit Guam or landed in Guam, I should say, that's the decoy. It's the feint. That was the let everybody think, oh, we just took some B-2s and flew them to Guam, and never mind don't think that there's another 6 or 7 in the sky. They're going to keep going, and that's really what happened.
Yeah, and this is a 15-ton. Bomb that ended up falling on him. Now, again, this was some of the responses from this. You started it, we will end it. Iran media warns Donald Trump after strikes on nuclear sites, airs map of U.S. military bases in the Middle East. Iranian state TV has aired a bold warning to the president, displaying a map of U.S. military bases in the Middle East and showing that essentially you started it and we will end it. Now, remember, the TV is a little bit different. Obviously, everybody believes already that Fox and all of these are controlled by most likely the government anyways, after USAID and all these other things. But again, when they say something, it's a little bit different because they're being told directly by the Ayatollah to put something out, whether it be propaganda or truth. But this is something that we've actually followed way before this. In 2018 when he took out Soleimani, which we've been following. That's crazy that is 7 years ago. During the president's last presidency, he took out Soleimani. He said that they were planning an attack on the U.S. Now, in 2024, the very end of it, we heard Sarah Adams and others chatter about a possible attack coming with 1,000 sleeper cells in the United States, 1,000 in, of course, Europe. And whether you believe that's propaganda or from an ex-CIA spook or not, it's the fact that, well, if she is saying it, and if she is saying that by orders of somebody else, then what do you think that is too? That's putting that out there beforehand. What do you think is going to happen then? Again, now they're actually saying that there is, of course, high alert going on. So we'll talk about that here in 2 seconds. Satellite images show the damage at Iran's deeply buried Fordow nuclear site. So this is the one that they were talking about that was super deep. Again, that needed multiple explosions to try to get down that deep, where they were talking about how we didn't know exactly if our bomb would go deep enough. Everyone is explaining, and I'm not going to, we shouldn't be going in deep about the explanations, because all over Fox News, CNN, they're all explaining and going into the bomb, details about this. Essentially, they took it out. They were able to get down at least, I think, 2 vent sites. They were able to get down in there, and they say it is obliterated. There's a couple different images, of course, befores and after, and they're saying that they obliterated it. The response is more what I'm worried about. I don't doubt that the U.S. military is badass. Again, they are saying all over the news that, hey, the bomb is actually pretty, usual. The timers, the fuses, the actual explosives inside this is not the crazy unique part. It is the delivery system, that B-2 that left from Missouri, which, by the way, 9 of those were spotted by a gentleman. He posted it right on Twitter. That's on my Twitter if you go to the second tweet down right now. It's crazy to think that any other day, everybody would tell us like, oh, well, that's just a drill. Or if our community talks about that and goes, hey, guys, we should keep a heads up. There's, B-2s flying over Missouri and flying over here. Well, obviously, some of those drills are real. And that's a perfect example. Like everybody that says, oh, well, it's just a drill. Well, this was just a drill. And sometimes they have to do acts just like this to do that. Again, this is the damage after. And then they said that there was some unusual things going on before. Dex, do you want to talk about what happened right before this and what possibly wasn't there?
Yeah, so and this has probably been going on for a while. It wasn't necessarily just before, but they even said just before they still had trucks like loading stuff up and taking it out of Fordo beforehand and before the strike ever happened. So yeah, they probably got the yellow cake out. They probably got the even some enriched stuff out. But keep in mind, while that is still important and that can produce potentially a nuke if they have the right material. The most valuable part is that plant, and the plant having the capability to produce and go through the enrichment process. So if they had some enrichment and they took it out, yes, so be it. They have that, and that'll be the next target that they'll have to figure out how to get to and find. But being able to completely debilitate their ability to enrich more is obviously the point here, and why they took this facility out. And when you look at those satellite images they show, those holes, there's not like a big crater, and you're not going to see that. What you're typically going to see is this giant hole left behind. And the evidence that they're saying is that powder dust that is everywhere is obviously concrete that has come out of that hole from the explosion that's underground. Pretty much, telling them that it worked. It wasn't just, dirt from the mountain. It was, material from underneath. So, but yeah, they obviously moved stuff out and probably got a handful of things out beforehand, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, because I see comments because it's kind of crazy that the building looks untouched. That's probably, I don't know if that's the office building on top or what is that white building? Has anyone explained what that part of it is? They're saying that
my guess is it's like an intake facility because you got the road coming into it. It's probably a trucking warehousing, whatever, and maybe.
Why didn't they take that out too?
Because the important stuff's underground. If it was important, it wouldn't be above ground.
I guess it just, if that's the garage that drives into the damn thing and the elevator, destroy everything.
An F-35 can take that out if they need to. And yeah, Israel can handle that.
So, and of course the befores and after, and then again, you have many nations ready to supply Iran. Now, I sat through a few hours of the interviews with Putin, translated, of course, and it is kind of crazy because all of these different people from around the world are asking him not only about Ukraine, but if they are going to supply Iran. Journalists asked him directly if he is going to support Iran. He's kind of pussyfooting around the subject. He's trying to get around it, but he essentially hinted towards not only entering the war, but leaving it up to his underlings to decide, what's the doing. And he basically referred everybody to his foreign ministry or referred them to this ministry or this ministry. But he is hinting towards entering the war. In fact, if you guys want to watch that whole video after this, you can. What is crazy is, I don't know, he's in his 70s. If you take video of him and how he speaks, what is scary is we're dealing with somebody with a full deck of cards. He is not somebody, if you just listen to him speak, I've watched him speak many times, you understand this guy's got a full deck of cards even at 70. I've heard people say, oh, he's 70 years old, he's probably Alzheimer's or something. No, listen to the guy, how he deals with journalists, how he claps back at people. He's got his notes of the things he says, but then when he claps back, He's no joke. The dude's ex-KGB. He's a savage, and that's the scary part we're dealing with. They are very strategic. They're not stupid. Just because they are not the richest country in the world does not mean we underestimate them. They have fought in wars. They have experience, and it's something that we have to. You never underestimate your enemy. So I'll just show you real quick. I'll go over to the X here. There is a video of him live that you guys should watch, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It is actually this. It is this video right here. It is at the very, very top. In fact, I will pin it right now, and then you guys will be able to see that at the top. Understand that some of those questions are extremely important for everybody in this community to know, especially since we are looking at now U.S. cities on high alert. We are also talking about how many nations are now saying that they may supply Iran with their nuclear warheads. Now, this is, again, coming from a top Putin aide, but one thing I do believe is they do have some really close allies. So this actually may very well be true. Kat, thank you, says, remember to hit the like. I never remind you guys, but again, it does help the channel. If you guys do want to do it, and that would be very much appreciated. More so, though, share our stuff out. Get this information out to everybody. Again, we're going to talk about here in a second. Foogle fam information from... talk about that again as well too. So very specific information about people not only joining back up, but getting called back up. We talked about Lord Crockflops getting called back up as a Top Gun aviator. There's more. So we'll go over that here in a second. Thank you, Sweatna Ministries. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief in their might. Jeremiah 49:34. Thank you, Sweatna, for being here. And Dennis Hall, thank you for gifting out 5 badges to the Foogle fam. So, Dex, if we see other countries help, this is a threat, right? So even if they don't have their own nuclear weapons, which, again, they got a lot of that uranium out before, or it looks like that, they could have been hurrying. Maybe this is why they put the hurry on it, because while they were stalling, maybe they are telling the truth for once, right? Maybe they actually were trying to get a nuclear weapon together, or that's the propaganda or the thing that is supposed to make us all think that. And right. Soon we'll see the first tactical nuke, Fantastic Freddy. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, here's the question: who's going to do it? It's going to be your choices are basically Russia, North Korea, and China. Maybe Pakistan. Definitely not India. And there's a few other countries, but I don't think anybody else is really lining up to sell them one. But maybe North Korea would. But whoever does, it's going to be traced back. It's going to be traced back to its origin, and whoever that origin is going to pretty much be held responsible. So I can't see it being Russia or China, in my opinion. But it's Russia is the one making the claim. So Medvedev came out and said, there's a number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads, although he didn't identify who. Now, I could see Russia putting them in kind of like they did with who'd they give them to? Their neighbor there. Lukashenko.
Belarus.
Okay. Yeah, Belarus, Lukashenko. They gave Lukashenko some, but they didn't necessarily give him, or at least Russia claims they didn't give him the key to launch them. They just planted them there, but they're controlled by Russia. Now, of course, Lukashenko likes to act like he can launch them, and he says he can, but Russia says no, that's not the case. So I could see a scenario like that, kind of like the U.S. may put some in other locations that are controlled by the U.S. or in our terms, maybe controlled by NATO. But I don't know that we would see somebody just outright selling them. Now, Kim Jong-un, I could see him doing it, but he would suffer some serious consequences if that went off. But he would be the one, I think, that would actually be willing to do it, because he's sold stuff to Russia under the table. Obviously not going to sell nukes to Russia because they don't need them. They got plenty. But if he could make some money and they need money, I could see that happening.
Yeah, and Kim Jong-un actually has the nukes to sell and has a black market, is sanctioned off the planet. So, there's not much holding them back unless that the U.S. finds out about it right away and threatens before they do it. If they do it after the fact, it's not like they're going to be able to get it back, right? Now, great comments. Says there was nothing that those places were empty. Stanley says, now, again, even if those factories were empty, like Dex said, it's an important thing that they can't make it in the future. But what the point is people are saying that, they got a lot of stuff out beforehand. Did they get the makings of a nuclear weapon out before they ended up doing this? That also shows you that Iran had at least some knowledge that they were about to strike before they struck. Obviously, all of the U.S., they were probably thinking the same thing, right? The U.S. is shifting defenses all over the place, that they're getting people out. They were probably thinking the same thing, like, hey, we need to get this stuff out of there before they end up doing it. And then obviously our media said, well, we're mulling a strike on Iran and nothing's off the table.
Yeah, they started pulling stuff out at him, in my opinion, when Trump called off Netanyahu twice before, a month ago. Okay, so they've had more than enough time. Whatever they saw on satellite yesterday or the day before, it was the continuation of them trying to move stuff out. It wasn't like they go, oh my gosh, we think they're coming tomorrow. They've been knowing the writing's been on the wall for a few weeks now, at least, if not longer. So they've been scrambling to move as much stuff as they can into lots of different places. But the fact that they move it out from this one facility, this was a very expensive, like 12, 13-year build, 300 feet underground. They don't have another facility. Well, they have other underground facilities, but I don't think they have one as big as this that was built like this. So, anything they're moving out is going to be now moved into a location that's probably more easily targetable. It's just a matter of finding it, which that probably won't take long. And I'm sure we'll hear more strikes from Israel on that.
And Linda V asks, is the link for that the Putin video on the website? No, it is not, but I will make sure it is. I get it. I'm assuming no Twitter or X. So I will give that to Dex and he can pop it on the website. Thank you for, that's actually a good thing you said that. And then Jerry Hayes, because if you guys don't know, all of the links for today are over on marfooglenews.com. Again, you can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. That way you have the sources for all of this. Unless it's an opinion or if it is hearsay, it will be on our website. Now, there is a whole lot more to this. Before we go over to that, I do want to remind you too, make sure to go check out Jase. This is another one of our affiliates that I truly believe will end up saving lives. All of our affiliates will either save your life or make your life comfortable through any kind of disaster. It does not have to be, the end of the world. This is news from a prepper standpoint. And again, this is a really easy service. You just use your phone, tablet, or computer, do a quick appointment with a board-certified doctor, and you can get a kit of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics all in one bag in a kit discreetly delivered to your door. So go over to marfooglenews.com/Jase. Again, it's a very easy service. They also have a service called Jase Daily, where if you have a regular medicine that you take every single day and you are dependent on it, whether you like being dependent on it or not, highly recommend going checking it out, because if you've ever thought of the possibility of our hospitals being down, our pharmacies being down, this is something every prepper does think about at one point or another in their prepping journey. So go to marfooglenews.com/Jase, Jase, code MARF. The great part is you're going to get a discount for it, and you're going to help our small channel here. We're up against 40,000 mainstream media channels that get the top 50,000 results. Even if you type in our exact freaking title, you're not going to get our video. You're going to get, CNN doing a speed bump story. So, all right. Now, back into it. Iran orders closure of Strait of Hormuz, putting 1/5 of the world's oil supply at risk. When any of us, and you know who you are, most of us, when we hear Strait of Hormuz, our ears perk up. This is something that has been rumored for as long as I've been alive. As far as Strait of Hormuz, an event, a Fantastic Freddy type event happening there, or something major, is something that could absolutely trigger World War III. They say they order the closure of Strait of Hormuz, then say our ships go in or somebody else goes in to try to open it, and then somebody attacks our ship with a flagged ship that, is... But, you rub the paint off and it actually says U.S. or Israel, but it says Iran. And then all of a sudden you're in a full-fledged war and everyone supports it because of a horrible, horrendous event. Or we just actually go in there and Iran actually attacks us, and then boom, you've got yourself a full-fledged World War III. So this is something that everybody should be paying attention to. Again, the Supreme Council's decision must be made by tonight, according to Iran state-run press TV. They are talking about closing the Strait of Hormuz. That means that they would somehow enforce it to stop having everything go through, again, 1/5 of the oil supply. So not good if that happens. It's something that we all have to keep our eyes peeled for. And then U.S. bases on high alert. Again, this is something that we have to talk about right after. And again, major U.S. cities on high alert following airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. In particular, New York is actually going all out, they say, because of its global position and global reputation in the world, that New York is a hotspot. But I would also warn people that live where I do. Washington has Boeing. We have, of course, a ton of different tech companies. I don't even know if Expedia exists anymore. But, of course, you have a ton of other Boeing, Microsoft. You, of course, have a lot of smaller other big companies as far as tech goes, but smaller places located right here, and Amazon, of course. So you got a lot of targets here. You got a lot of targets in California. You got a lot of targets in, of course, Florida. You've got a lot of targets all over this country that would be strategically important. California, it actually is what is number 1 through 5 on GDP for the entire country. I believe it's under New York, but it's up there if it's not above. So you've got a lot of places that would strategically be hit if they wanted to completely screw our entire economy. Now, the events that we've talked about with Sarah Adams, she's a former spook. Nobody's going to take her without a grain of salt. But at the same time, if you actually start looking into the information that she was pulling out, a lot of people can access that information. There's crypto money moving around. There's weird payments happening. There is a lot happening in the Middle Eastern sphere as far as people that are now running things and running these groups. But then you also look at the CIA flying in there and possibly with huge briefcases of money, and you think, man, is something about to go down? Dex, not only are U.S. Cities on high alert, you have U.S. bases on high alert. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. All the locations close to Iran that can be hit by their missiles, all of our bases in the Middle East, they're now on, obviously, they've been on high alert going into this, but obviously on a much higher level now that the strike has happened and now that the threat has come out. So, I think it's around the globe. It's anywhere, especially anywhere that is allied strongly with the West. Obviously, the U.S. Cities being a hot target, U.S. bases a hot target, in any location, in any of the Western allies, even throughout Europe, where there's going to obviously be a very high potential for sleepers. All of these locations are going to be, they need to be on high alert. And while, it's the weekend, it's not the necessarily the most ideal time to do something. I think you're probably going to see something more during the work day when there's more people out and about. So I think this week is the week to be vigilant, and every week going forward, I think you need to pay attention during the work week. Maybe major events, but I think those are obviously going to be more scrutinized and maybe more difficult. I think it's the things that people least expect. And there may be a location that has a lot of people in it, that people just least expect something happening, whether it's in the train stations or in crowded areas that aren't, necessarily pre-planned, like in a sporting event would be pre-planned, and people would be, the security would be much more heightened there, and it would probably be a more difficult target. So I would be very cautious just in your everyday activities now. I wouldn't stop living life, because we should never, kowtow to that, but we should at least put our heads more on a swivel and pay more attention to our surroundings and what's going on.
Kevin Kennedy, TMI, with his third arm typed, "I was born right out of Hanford, Washington." Hanford is actually, I know a couple really cool people in Hanford. The nuclear plant here, that's another great point. Hanford, we have nuclear plants all over the country that could be targets. Those are obviously not great to see any of those go up in flames. And then Will's Mind says the U.S. has issued a worldwide alert. Yeah, so this is something that's super predictable. We told you guys this before it even happened. We said, hey, this is something where the entire country needs to start start keeping their eyes peeled. And that really is, it's a spatial awareness, being aware when you're out and about in those huge crowds. Again, that doesn't mean don't go to the huge crowds, but be aware. Be aware of what's going on. People watch. I mean, most people like people watching anyways. But, my friend asked me, what are the signs? How do we spot them? I said, you won't. You're not going to spot a sleeper cell. Sleeper cells are trained agents. These are trained, essentially the equivalent of our CIA agents that live here, might work at the local, law firm or freaking taco truck. It doesn't matter. They might be a plumber or a janitor or a politician. These people are trained, highly, highly trained people. In Iran, their program, I learned more about it because I was blissfully ignorant about what their version was. They have stolen some of our CIA guys to help train their guys. So you've got highly trained people, and that's the thing. People say, oh, sleepers aren't real. Who told you that? Sleepers are not people that, they see a subliminal message on TV, and who knows, we might have those. But they don't see a subliminal message on TV and say, I'm going to take out the president. It's more so that these are people with a mission in mind, and they wait until the appropriate time and they get activated. They say, hey, you got to do that now, and they do it. So, this is something where everybody needs to be aware, and people, friends and family need to know this. I am very surprised, though. I'm hearing from other people that still at this point, Sunday, I bet even into Monday, and even this week, people won't even know that this happened. Our community, that sounds just so ridiculous not to know that this is going on right now. But there's many people that don't only not watch the news, but don't want to know. And I think that that's dangerous to all of us. When people are caught off guard, they're not prepared. Those are the first people that are going to be knocking on our doors asking, like, what do we do? They're going to be the first people that are going to be robbing their neighbors. They're the first people that are going to be, taking someone else's life because they don't have what they absolutely need to feed their family. So I really do hope that people get this information out. I appreciate all of you sharing our stuff out, especially since this is kind of a culmination of years of work. I have, if we're on a Saturday or Sunday, usually it's pretty important. So I hope you guys understand that. Sweat Ministries, Isaiah 47, thou shalt evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know whence it riseth. Mischief shall fall upon thee, and shall not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Well, it's a good way to describe right now. Sweatnam, thank you so much for supporting our channel here. Thank you for supporting Independent. And thank you, Lavera Lacchini. Marf, address the U.S. law for censorship during war. Oh, gosh, yeah. So, Marv, could you address the U.S. law for censorship during war? People will be surprised how information via internet and regular TV news will be zero. I hope they don't, because I've been telling you guys for years, and I told you this the other day too. If this goes down the way that any of the predictions have gone, I will not be here to tell you about it. If I'm on, I guess you can be rest assured that everything's okay. But if your internet, I told you guys, if your phone goes off, your car doesn't start, and your electricity's down, you need to find a plan immediately. And that's the thing. We've been telling you for years to have that kind of plan just in basic writing. Write up an outline, write up a bullet point. And if nothing happens, I'm sure the detractors are, oh, you're getting all afraid and it's all a nothing burger. I hear less and less of that. Like, it's kind of crazy. We used to get so much more of it because people believe the media when they tell them, oh, everything's fine, it's all complacent. Then they tell me I'm a fearmonger. When this happens, they're like, you're right. Oh my God, where do I get everything? So again, with this, understand there will be no information out there once any of this goes down. If this goes down. There are Fugel family members, not only that have been called in, like, of course, Lord Crockflops, the chat suggested that he got pulled back into Top Gun. His old crew asked for him to come fly again. Now we have multiple emails. After we told that story, multiple military members and military family members have come out and said that they are getting called up and called back into service. So one of them, the longest out, was out of the military for 7 years, a specialist. They want them back and on a plane in just a few hours. That was last night, so they would already be flying right now. not flying as a pilot, but flying to go somewhere. Now, with that being said, I hope that all of the detractors and people that are saying it's nothing burger, I hope you are right. But if you're not, it would be a crime if people didn't have a basic plan if something did happen, because they're hurting all of us. All of us that have been saying this for years, who have been seeing it. It's like a bad movie. I just posted on X. It's like, it's a bad movie when you see this alert goes out to, nationwide after we put out our own alert nationwide. We're saying, hey, nationwide. And then all of a sudden you've got alerts going to all the major cities. It's like, yeah. People that when we said that, they're like, yeah, I don't think we need to worry here. Then officially the next day, they tell you, yeah, every city is preparing for a possible event. They're putting police and military in strategic places around the country. So, everything is fake. Everything on the internet is all made up. It's all a video. It's all CGI. But if it's not, if you don't have a basic plan, then blissfully ignorant is going to be your best friend. Dex, as far as some of the stuff going on, we've got cities on high alert, bases on high alert. Hopefully nothing happens. You have any small advice?
Yeah, just in addition to what can happen, you think about kinetic events around populations and crowded spaces, but also be prepared for cyber and other types of things that can happen, whether it's telecoms going down, internet's going down, capabilities, any of that kind of stuff, because that will be right now. It's interesting because the internet is still turned off in Iran, but I imagine if they need to if their hacking team needs to do something, or their cyber team wants to do something to come after America, they have their means to do it and get around that.
Or their friends in China or Russia could. So yeah, we'll get that website or the video on the website. We'll add that video.
It's there.
Okay, thank you so much. So that video is already there for Linda V, I believe, that said that. Thank you for the support tonight. I appreciate all of the new members. Just Julie, thank you for gifting out 5 badges as well. Stephen Click, if any country moved nukes, we would know it for sure. I sure hope so. Again, we've talked about how they even know that that's happening and what systems they use. Steel Hauling DC, thank you for gifting a badge as well. Sweat Ministries, thank you for being the top supporter tonight. Mad Max, a little something for the Foogle fam's doomsday stockpile of spam. I hate spam, but again, one of the best preservable foods next to the rumored Twinkie. So have a good night, guys, and be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. And yes, the map is off. It was a AI generated map.